to another episode of Respect Coin. This is the third episode. I have not been canceled yet. Maybe we need to win some more money. We have been on our winning ways. We got a lot to unpack. It's been a wild week in sports. I feel like everything's heating up. The college football playoff rankings came out this week. We're starting to figure out who these teams are. We're starting to figure out who our football teams are. Like I said, I will get back into a lot of that very soon, but I'm Michael Bolling, and as always, very much excited and happy to see people sharing and responding and winning tickets. So hopefully we can continue our winning ways. But let's recap last week. As we always do, I am going to start dubbing this the good, the bad, and the ugly. Sometimes there's not going to be any good, and that's for sure. There's probably going to be a lot more bad and ugly than good, but hopefully we can keep a lot of wins in this good section to have something nice to start the show with. So from last week, the good, our Bulls SGP cashed in 3 quarters. That was the Bulls versus the Nets on the road. We had Cam Thomas to score 20. I think he had 30. We had Vooch's rebounds, who he's been an absolute vacuum this year. And we've been going back to the well with Giddey assists. So shout out to everyone that put that in. I got some texts, the people cashed. That one was pretty free. We'll try and keep it pretty conservative when we talk about Bulls basketball, as I'll get into a little bit later. The bad, the Bears parlay flopped. Now, I personally thought DeAndre Swift was not going to get any more carries after that game started to go the way it started to go. Shane Waldron is a big run abandoner, so I was actually pretty surprised to see Swift go over his 50 yards. But DJ Moore, man, I think he's a really good player, and I also think that Caleb Williams is a really good player. And there's been a lot of talk about these guys not being in sync, not having chemistry. I used to fight off those haters, and now I kind of don't know. I'm not going to make a big deal about DJ Moore walking off the field. He mentioned that he kind of rolled his ankle. It's a bad look, but, those things get handled at Hallis Hall. It's not my place to speculate, but tough one. We should have easily gotten DJ Moore's receiving yards. I think he had 30 or something nearby, but this Bears team is just impossible to trust right now. This offense for sure impossible to trust, and I kind of went low brow. I kind of went like not that outrageous for this play, and it just didn't come through. And just to put a cap on it, the ugly, the Chicago Bears in general, man, like it's annoying at this point how many times as a young Bears fan you've just seen the same cycle repeat itself. And they say the definition of insanity is doing the same things and expecting different results. Well, that's kind of the plight of a Bears fan and a Bears bettor. You want to believe that things have turned around. You want to believe that, things are better, things look differently, but you kind of rub your eyes and you look at that picture and it's the same old thing. So I won't harp on it too much right now because I'm going to definitely get into this Bears game coming up with the Patriots. But the ugly, definitely the Bears. They should not have looked the way they looked, the dysfunction, everything, man. And 1.5 point underdogs on the road means that Vegas kind of believes you should be in the game, and this was their worst loss of the year. Like, you could argue that the Fail Mary was, a heartbreaker, and it was, but I don't think the Cardinals are that much better than the Bears, and it's hard for me to even say that because I actually don't know if I believe it anymore. Like, Kyler Murray played a pretty pedestrian game. He did what he needed to do. They ran the ball down our throats and took advantage before the half, and then you lose by 20 on the road. So the ugly, definitely the Bears, but it's Friday. The weekend is almost here. Let's turn the page and let's see if we can have some fun on this Bears season. As we look back, as I always do, Thursday Night Football seemed to be one of the more fun Thursday night football games of the year. And of course, I was working the Bulls game last night. Not complaining. If you checked out CHSN's socials, you've seen that, we saw Simone Biles courtside, getting close to an absolute legend was pretty wild. And then came home and watched the Simone Biles documentary last night. For one thing, let me just go off topic really quickly. Netflix hit an absolute gold mine with this Simone Biles documentary. The idea that, like, the last time around she had this kind of controversy where she was, not healthy and she pulled herself out and everybody started losing their mind. And then the redemption story of going back and qualifying for France and, winning some more medals. Like, what an absolute diamond that they struck up. And I really like that documentary. So if you haven't had a chance to watch that, it's something you should definitely check out. I mean, I think you come away with a lot more respect for her as just a person, but that ain't why you called. Because the reason why I got off topic there, I didn't get to watch this Thursday night football game because I was working, and then I came home and watched the very end, and my goodness, I mean, if we could get Bengals Ravens like 4 times a year, I would not be upset about it. So, know a lot of people cashed a lot of tickets last night. Finally, a game that kind of had everything except for defense, which, depends on who you are as a football fan. As a bettor, I don't like betting unders, so I like all the overs you can get. Cashed a little 2-leg parlay last night at Jamar Chase and Mark Andrews anytime touchdown parlay. So that came through. It was almost 4-1. But one thing I want to talk about when it comes to this game is, as a Bears fan, I try my best not to like extend my fandom to other teams. I'm a Chicagoan, and most Chicagoans that I know that are actually from here are not going to root for other teams in other places. We'll root for other players, but we do have this sense of pride that I feel like other places maybe do not. But if there is a team that's close enough to earning my fandom as a disgruntled and upset Bears fan, it's the Baltimore Ravens. Uh, say what you want about their results over the last handful of years. I think they've come up short a few times when playing the Chiefs, and, they've had a tough go of it when you get to the playoffs. But what's not to like about Lamar Jackson? That dude's an absolute stud. He went nuts last night. Showdown with Joe Burrow, another team that's, another player that I like to watch, obviously. And I don't know if you're in Chicago, if you ever want to go have a fun football watching experience, go to Woody's on a Sunday. I'm not a Bengals fan, but I got Bengals koozies because, the gang would go to Woody's to watch football. And I don't know, it doesn't make me a Bengals fan, but it's a good environment. So if you want to go watch a Bengals game, definitely go to Woody's. But last night, I kind of got to this realization that the Ravens may not be as elite as other people are going to tell you, but they are damn sure fun to watch, to cover, and by all accounts, that was a really awesome game. I got to go back and check the tape and check the highlights because I didn't get to watch most of it, but I am in possession of a Baltimore Ravens future, and I want to explain this because I think it's really funny. And I'm going to give a big shout out to my boy Logan out at BR. We called this the Logan system, where it's kind of out of season, right? But I bet 4 money lines in MLB way back. I think it was maybe in July or August. I'll have to check. So I bet 4 money lines, and then the last leg of it was the Ravens to win the Super Bowl. So it's a way to kind of boost up your Super Bowl futures. And obviously all parlays are hard to hit, but when you hit one, now you're holding a ticket at crazy value. And that's really fun to track throughout the year. So I'm going to my FanDuel right now to check what the actual odds are so I can share it. But I had on August 20th, I bet the Baltimore Orioles to beat the Mets, the Phillies to lose to the Braves, the Brewers to beat the Cardinals, obviously, and I hated betting the Brewers. and then the Cubs to beat the Tigers, with the last leg being the Ravens to win the Super Bowl, and that came out to a grand total with a boost of 241 to 1. So my $5 bet, if the Ravens win the Super Bowl, will earn me $1,200. It's just so I'm objectively bought in on on the Ravens this year, and seeing them pull that win out was awesome. Obviously, got some stuff I want to get into a little later in the show surrounding this game, but if you watched it and you cashed, I saw a lot of tickets come through. Definitely an opportunity where other Thursday night football games have not been that great. I think last night was one that if you press the right buttons, you should have won some money. So hopefully you did. Hit me on social and let me know if you had any tickets that were worth mentioning. But by all accounts, a really fun Thursday night football game last night. All right. I just gave a deep sigh because I'm getting ready to discuss the Chicago Bears and their weekend matchup with the New England Patriots. The Patriots come in holding the worst record in the league by various tiebreakers. They're slotted right now to get the number one pick. And we have a Bears team that's 4-4, very easily could be 5-2, should be 5-2. And if you think about it, and the ball bounces our way, they really could be 6-2. But here we sit, 4-4. Patriots coming to town this weekend. 65% of smart money is on the Bears, and 52% of the public money is on the Bears. At 6.5-point favorites, this is the first time they've been that big of favorites since Andy Dalton played in week 16 of the 2021 season. They put a hurting on the Giants at home, but it's kind of an indictment when you think about that. They've been underdogs in most games they've played for the last 3 seasons, which is a kind of tough look. And honestly, like as a bettor and as a Bears fan, this week I'm sitting this one out. I'm just too frustrated from last week. I had a lot of buddies text me with their, Bears money line tickets, and it's all fun and games until you get to the halftime period and it's, you're down 14 or whatever it is. Like everything went wrong last game, and, it's a kind of throw it in the trash, film watch, but I'm out this weekend. I'm not betting the Bears. I can't do it. This is their last call, though, for the season. I think they had their chance to really solidify themselves in the playoff picture over the last 2 weeks, and they fumbled that. So here's my PSA for anyone listening. Like, you do not have to bet the Bears because they're on. And I am guilty of betting the Bears blindly at times. I think a lot of people who live in this market are guilty of the same things, but you don't have to bet them. You would still enjoy if you watch them win. It's obviously more fun to watch them win and win money, but if you're someone who's listening to this and you really trust the direction or you trust something that you've seen over the last 2 weeks, please hit me up on social and let me know what those things are that you trust, because I don't see it. I don't see it. The body language is bad in a lot of areas. They're really extremely banged up. We'll see who plays this week. Billings has just been put on IR. He's been one of the bright spots for this team this season, and I just don't know what's going on with the offense, man. It's brutal to think that after the third and fourth weeks of the season, everyone was kind of in on Shane Waldron. He kind of simplified the offense for Caleb Williams, rolling him out of the pocket, having him do things that he's great at. We were leaning on the run game, targeting our best players and playmakers, and that just kind of went out the window for the last 2 weeks. So it's last call, right? Like, the lights are coming on at the bar. It's time to close out your tab. If you're at the VIG, you're probably eating some cookies. That's before last call. But you're getting cookies on the way out. It's last call. If they lose to the Patriots, there's going to be – the pitchforks will be out. The boo boards will be out in force at Soldier Field. Our producer EP is going to be at the game. I'm going to be curious to see what the vibe is and kind of check in with him after the game. But 6.5-point favorites feels like putting a target on your back unnecessarily. I don't know what this team has deserved to earn a 6.5-point favorite number. And truthfully, it probably should be less, but the Patriots have just really been that bad. Curious to see what Drake May is all about. Drake May has put together some good games. He was pretty clutch last week. I think it was against, or a couple weeks ago. He threw a late touchdown pass. I think it was last week, actually. He threw a late touchdown pass against Tennessee. I'll check that. But we'll see if Drake May is up to snuff. Honestly, the defense didn't look very good last week, so he may have a good game. See, all these things that keep popping in my head are reasons why I'm staying away. I am not betting this game. Avoid the pain and enjoy your Sunday. Don't let them get to you, because it will ruin the beginning of your week. I'll have more on this at the end. I will make a pick for this game, but I am not taking the Bears. The over-under is 38.5. Last I checked. I kind of like the over, but the wind conditions are going to be bad and it might be rainy. So make sure you check on the weather before you make any bets on that total. All right, let's switch gears. I mentioned earlier in the show, I covered the Bulls game last night, and they tickled us for 3 quarters, and then Anthony Edwards happened. So if you haven't watched Anthony Edwards play basketball in person, I highly suggest you spend the money on it. I'm sure lots of people that are listening to the show have watched the Netflix documentary Starting Five. Anthony Edwards might be one of the more fun athletes to watch in any sport, and he went berserk last night. He had over 30 points. The Bulls fall again. They do not cover the spread at home. I think it was +9. They got blown out. It is what it is. I think if you thought very highly of this Bulls team to start the season, I commend you, because I'm starting to feel like some of these pieces don't fit together or fit, Billy's system. We are shooting a lot more threes, which is fun to see as we usher ourselves into the modern era of basketball. But to this point, we don't have enough guys that can make them consistently enough to really hang your hat on anything surrounding this Bulls team. And I'm going to keep supporting. I love the Bulls, and I love to see when they're playing well. But again, another Chicago team that's hard to trust right now. So recording this on Friday, the Bulls play tomorrow out in Atlanta. The Hawks will be coming off a back-to-back to play the Bulls, and this might be the Bulls' best shot to win a game for the next week, maybe a week and a half. This part of the schedule, honestly, the beginning of this year, this schedule has been pretty brutal for the Bulls, and I think the Eastern Conference has had some surprises. The Bucks not playing very well, the Sixers not playing very well, but I don't know. This is a really, really difficult part of the schedule. So they've got a day of rest today. They're probably traveling. They're going to play a Hawks team that is leaving Detroit, going home. This could be the best spot they have, but I am not in any way encouraging you to take the Bulls to win, especially on the road. I just don't see it. No lines out for that yet, so be on the lookout. I was checking FanDuel, didn't see very much, and that's obvious because the Hawks play tonight against the Pistons on the road. So staying away from that, altogether. I don't think there's a bet to be made unless you're taking the over. That's one thing I can blindly say. I'm not even sure what the number would be. My guess is it's going to be in the 220, the high 220s, like 229, something like that, because both of these teams don't play very much defense. So if I can give you an early pick without seeing any lines at all, I think when I would look at this Bulls-Hawks game on Saturday, I would take a look at the over. And another thing to key in on, this is a little bit of a narrative play, but the numbers support it. If you're looking for a prop bet in Saturday's Bulls-Hawks game, I would target, and I haven't seen the numbers yet, they're not out, no lines. I would target Trae Young's assists, not his points. Trae Young is a very interesting player in this league. He's been very productive. I think he probably gets hated on a little more than he deserves. Kind of just keeps to himself, talks a little trash to the Knicks. I almost swore. Sorry, Edgar. But Trae Young has had not great volume scoring games against the Bulls, and that is because Io kind of locks him up. One narrative we can fall back on when it comes to Io DeSumo as a Bull is he really gets up for this matchup against Trae Young. I don't know what it is. Maybe they played each other in AAU back in the day. I have no idea, but for some reason, he takes that matchup personally. So I would not be betting Trae Young's points, but I would be betting Trae Young's assists. And let me tell you why. The last three matchups the Hawks have had against the Bulls, Trae Young has scored 19 points, 19 points, and 21 points. Those are all below his current average. His current average is closer to 24 points. But he is averaging over 10 assists a game this year. And the last three matchups, he's had 13 assists, and 14 assists. So it's clear that the defense of Io DeSumo is in his head a little bit or enough to kind of make him a little more focused on, deferring and distributing to his teammates, which he's obviously very good at, one of the tops in the league. So if you're looking for a prop bet, do not bet Trae Young's points because Io is probably going to lock him up. And I would look at Trae Young's assists because he's had volume high numbers against the Bulls in his last three times out. So make sure you take a look at that. Take a look at the over in the game. And one thing I just wanted to shout out on the way out talking about the Bulls, Nikola Vucevic is playing his butt off right now. He's playing the best he's played as a Bull in what feels like a really long time. He's a walking double-double. I think that this is a really good opportunity for Bulls management to take a look at, who needs a big man. It could be a good opportunity to sell high on Vooch, who's played really, really well to start this season. I think there was a lot of questions about whether he would fit in this offense and the kind of pace they want to play with. I was in the presser yesterday with Billy Donovan, and he was talking about how the pace has allowed for Vooch to kind of trail the play, and he's been making that three at the top of the key pretty consistently and actually rim running. So shout out to Vooch. He's playing really good basketball lately. And maybe that helps the Bulls kind of package him up in a deal that helps us for the future. So shout out to you, Vooch. Let's move on. It's time for my favorite part of the week. And boy, do we have a fun one for you. And fun is relative because, my God, the coin disrespecter of the week is none other than former Alabama wide receiver and current Miami Dolphins wide receiver, Jalen Waddle. When I say Jalen Waddle, if you're someone who bets, you know exactly what I'm talking about, and I don't even have to describe it. But for those who don't, the whole definition of respecting coin is making sure that you're doing what you need to do to get across the finish line, to get that ticket green so we can win some money as bettors. Not only did Jalen Waddle only have 2 receptions last week, just 2. And I want to caveat this by saying one of those receptions was a touchdown. So in a sense, you would think, man, he only had 2 catches, but one of them was a touchdown. He respects coin because he got in the box. Like he scored the touchdown, and people probably had him in parlays. I think you're fair to assess that, but when I describe what happened on the last play of this game, you're going to completely change your mind and understand why Jalen Waddle is this week's coin disrespecter. Bro had 1 catch throughout the entire game. That was a touchdown catch. It got the Dolphins back in the game. The Dolphins get the ball back and are trying to muster up a score to make the game interesting. There's 5 seconds left of the game. And Jalen Waddle gets a reverse on the little pitchy woo-woo, the fumble rooski. They're trying to just like throw the ball all over the field to get people falling down and maybe score a touchdown. And this guy gets his hands on the ball and runs straight backwards. Like it's hard for me to describe how crazy this play was. And I will link to the actual tweet that I saw. But bro just ran all the way to the other side of the field. And if you are running a lateral play, it's still a pass play. So whoever's the last person to touch that ball, that affects his stats and it affects the quarterback's stats. So if you want to know the main reason why Jalen Waddle is the coin disrespecter of the week, Tua's over-under in passing was 243 and a half yards in the game. With 5 seconds left, he had 254 yards passing. If you had that bet, you were probably like, we're good. I cashed it. If you had plus 250 or 250 plus in your parlay, you're like, we're straight. There's no way. And this play happens, and Jalen Waddle catches the ball and runs straight backward for 24 yards of loss. So you lost So you lost all your Jalen Waddle bets, I'm sure, because he didn't have more than 2 catches. He did score the touchdown, which means, okay, he probably blessed some bettors. But if you had his yards, it was completely smoked because he ended the game with -4. And if you had Tua's prop, he smoked you as well because he went 24 yards backwards and flipped that line. So Jalen Waddle, I'm certain you had no idea what you were doing, and you were doing what you thought was best for the team. I don't know why running backwards would be a part of that plan, but I've never been in an NFL locker room, so I'm not going to judge that. But you, sir, are our coin disrespecter of the week because that's about as bad a beat as you can get. If you were on Tua's passing total, I'm pouring one out for you this weekend and hope that you never have to go through anything like that ever again. Moving on to more fun topics. Our coin respecter of the week. Another wide receiver, another SEC wide receiver. And if you got to watch the entire Thursday night football game, you know exactly who I'm going to talk about right now. And that is Ja'Marr Chase. Oh my Lord. Did y'all see what Ja'Marr Chase did last night? 11 catches, 263 yards receiving, and 3 touchdowns. That's absolutely nuts. In a game you had to have, it's a division game, standalone, Thursday night football. Bro respects coin more than maybe anyone to this point in the season. And it sucks because they took the L. But my God, 11 catches, 264 yards, and 3 touchdowns. Bro absolutely spazzed. He was unguardable. We know the Ravens defense is not as good as it's been in the last few years. The secondary is really bad, and he exploited them. And I know this is a betting show, but money is won or lost in fantasy. So I'm going to take this time to shout out my boy Nate Dogg. I know he's listening. He's one of the longtime homies. You know, we've been through everything together at this point. But I'm going to shout you out, Nate Dogg, and I'm going to also apologize because we are playing each other in fantasy. And any other week that you have Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry give you 50.5 points before Sunday, you're probably feeling pretty good. But I got Ja'Marr Chase, and he dropped 49.9 in our league. So shout out, Nate. We still got a long way to go this week, but that's a tough one. And he's clearly respecting my coin. I mean, if you think about all the bets he cashed last night, his receiving yards was way over, obviously, by almost 3 times. His reception almost doubled it. Scored 3 touchdowns. Like, what more could you want from the guy? And obviously, I cashed Chase and Andrews anytime touchdown parlay. But Ja'Marr Chase, you know, them boys that do the gritty, they be getting busy, man. It's a huge, and now he's kind of separated himself a little bit from Justin Jefferson. They were pretty neck and neck for the receiving yards title this year. So hope those guys stay healthy because, damn, it's fun as hell to watch Ja'Marr Chase do his thing. So coin respecter of the week, wide receiver 1, number 1, Ja'Marr Chase. What a performance, man. Unbelievable. All right, let's pack these things up. I got some plays for the week. Like I said, not betting the Bears, not betting the Bulls, kind of looking at the over. I will be taking a bet on Trae Young's assists on Saturday. But I do have my first. Let me lay out a little bit. I'm going to drink some water because this is big. I have the first ever Stone Cold Lead Pipe Mega Diamond Whale lock of the week. And it is Cole Kmet over 2.5 catches. It's minus 102 on FanDuel. As soon as you hear me say this on this podcast, go and bet it immediately. And here's why. If you watched the Bears game last week, like most of Chicago and most of the world did, you will have noticed that Cole Kmet was an offensive lineman. Now, I know he's been a long snapper this year. He won Special Teams Player of the Week, but his position is tight end. And my guy did not get a single target. He didn't have a single catch. He didn't have a single yard. That's triple zeros and a cardio session getting pushed around by 300-pounders and just running around for no reason. And that is a huge problem. If Shane Waldron has ears, which I know he does because I've seen him in pressers, he has to have heard everyone in the city and national media talking about this offensive game plan. Part of this is on Caleb Williams. Caleb Williams is definitely forcing balls, and I don't blame him. I know he's trying to do what he can to spark the offense, but bro got to take his checkdowns, and his best security blanket is Cole Kmet. So this week's Stone Cold Lead Pipe Mega Diamond Whale lock, Cole Kmet over 2.5 catches. It's 3 catches. I probably think he's getting this in the first half. Caleb has heard the noise about not taking the checkdowns. And I was speaking to Clay Harbor this week at the offices, and he made a great point. You throw the ball to Cole Kmet, it's getting caught. I think he's got 2 drops all year, or 2 incompletions to Cole Kmet all year. Dude's as reliable as it gets. He's a great blocker. Yes, we know. We've had issues with the offensive line, but you got to get Cole Kmet the ball. He is the security blanket for this team, and his hands are reliable. He had a huge game in Jacksonville, and then they just stopped throwing to him for some reason. So I think that changes this week. Take Cole Kmet over 2.5 catches. It's minus 102. That's on FanDuel. And I'm adding a little sneak nuke because I love to. Leave that 2.5 catches in your bet slip after you take the straight and add the Cole Kmet touchdown. You get to plus 375 odds. Use FanDuel because the odds are not as good on DraftKings. So if you want the best odds, Cole Kmet over 2.5 catches plus a touchdown plus 374. $25 gets you over $100 payout. And again, I am not betting the Bears to win. This is the only bet I like. The only bet I'm taking, Cole Kmet over 2.5 catches, sprinkling in a little parlay when you add the touchdown. But that's it. That's episode 3. I know I talked last week about getting together a special guest. Some logistics didn't really work this week, but I'm hoping next week is the day and we'll get some stories together, meet some people in the industry, and have some fun. So this is Michael Bolling. I appreciate you guys for listening to Respect Coin Podcast. Continue to like, continue to subscribe. Give me 5 stars if you're feeling it. And share it. This is about community. This is about bettors. And this is about making some money and having some fun while we do it. So until next time, make sure you're respecting coin, everybody.